Audio Jungle.
So guys, a lot of those topics were pretty much leading up to the actual show. A lot of those I was pretty cordial about speaking on. I'm sure later, once I get the Q&A going on and I start seeing the feedback from the viewers, you guys are going to ask some questions or want to know more about this or that. So we can touch up on those a little later. Now we're going to talk about the, I think the fun stuff, and that's going to be the show itself. So pretty much it took place on Padre Island, the 25th of September. Check-ins for athletes were Friday, the day before. So I actually got down there Thursday. I left Thursday late night and I got there about 7 a.m. Friday morning. And right away, once I drove. So once I arrived, I drove right over to the convention center. And the first thing I did was actually got up on the stage and I started going right through my routine. Because I really wanted to make sure I nailed every single angle, every single step-by-step transition. And that's what I mean, kind of like setting that bar, setting the standard. Because admittingly, after driving close to 5 hours, I was exhausted, I was tired, I didn't want to do anything or talk to anybody. But I think by kind of like going that extra mile, that's what champions do. And that's what champions do that want to stay champions. Because I feel like if you rest too long on a win, you're going to experience a loss very soon. So I think by kind of like always, at least for me, fear of loss in myself to do more and do better, I think that helps keep me driving forward. So that being said, yeah, so check-ins were Friday. Went there, got to meet some of the new people, some of the athletes, some of the judges, some of the vendors, and the promoters. So the promoters were Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey, Scott and Lisa, excellent people, awesome human beings, and super, super personable. I think when hosting an event or promoting something, it's very, very demanding, and people aren't as personable as they could be or should be. So, I mean, meeting these guys right off the bat, even before meeting them, but just over the phone talking to them, and mind you, we never met before, ever. They're super, super relaxed, and they made it all about everybody else instead of, always in a rush and, kind of like short with people. So I really, really liked how they kind of handled their business and just being awesome human beings. And, I definitely expect to compete more in their federation GBO. So hopefully they can do a show soon locally here instead of all the way out in Padre. So definitely stay tuned for that. And I'm gonna tag them below, guys. So definitely appreciate you guys. I'm grateful to be a part of the experience. So after check-ins, that was pretty much just making sure everything was done, all T's were crossed and all I's were dotted as an athlete, getting our weight and height checked, making sure the posing trunks were appropriate for the event. I really like that as to just showing up the day of the event, kind of under the impression that you're wearing the right stuff, and then it's just like, hey man, you can't compete because you got the wrong outfit on. I thought that was pretty cool. I really like that. Also, I did my pro tan for the first time. I got sprayed on. That was a fun experience. It was a little new for me. The ladies made it like super, super comfortable to be a part of that. The next day, right around 7 a.m., I went back for my second coat. So that was pretty cool. And I mean, pretty much after that, it was smooth sailing. Being that Saturday was the next day of the event, I wasn't planning to stay out too late or do anything like that. I didn't really have too many people down there that I personally knew, so that gave me more of a reason to stay locked in and focused instead of going out and deviating from the plan. On a side note, this time around, I didn't have a coach. I didn't have really anybody. I pretty much was doing it all myself, the posing, the meals, the workouts, all that stuff, so the supplements. So I think really having kind of like that self-desire, that self-drive, and focus and some level of a game plan really helped me out. And just kind of like always selling myself on the fact that, you know, this is my deal, and you just have to approach it with that type of confidence, you know. And I think by constantly taking the action, taking more confidence, it will grow that confidence over time. So I think lastly, before I went to bed on Friday, I had the classic burger and fries to fill up my physique and come in nice and full, nice and tight. So when I ate the burger, I actually didn't really attack it like I thought I would. I got like halfway through it, and then I'm like, dude, I don't even want this anymore, you know? So I listened to my body. I even tried force feeding myself. It didn't really work too much. So I cut the burger out, saved it for the morning, ate it in the morning. I woke up. The first thing I did was I posed, took a piss, came back to the mirror, posed again, had some quick breakfast, being the burger. I think I had something else, I can't remember at this point, but then I went over to the convention center, got the tan, and started getting locked in, started getting ready for the big day. So on a side note, what I was very, very grateful about was being a part of this experience. You know, I was able to have my boy come out. Shout out to the videographer, the man behind the lens, DeAndre. You know, to have people you can depend on and make stuff like this happen, not just for me. I love having like content and things of that nature, but taking it off me, having it for you guys, so you can kind of like be a part of that experience. That's what, you know, makes me really, really happy, and makes it more gratifying to do what I do. So it's, you know, it's not about me, it's about building and creating and pushing it out to you. So I really hope you guys do like what we're doing here, and, you know, where we're going with this whole thing, because that's what it's all about, building the community. So I think show day, that's the next one. Show day was fun. It was great. We got there, like I said, I got tanned, I got locked in, I started doing different pump ups, and then I met with my videographer. We started doing a couple of shoots, but nothing too crazy, because I still wanted to stay in that type of mindset, especially being by myself. So I didn't want to deviate from the plan too much. But pretty much the whole deal, all I did was try to eat, nibble on, you know, this and that. The last, I want to say 6 to 8 weeks prior to the show, all I was eating like was the basics, like just tuna, light carbs, chicken, very little chicken, actually more tuna for the last 6 to 8 weeks, about 4 times a day, and, you know, egg whites every now and then. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of like my protocol, along with a few other things, obviously, but nothing too crazy. It was very, very simple. And I didn't have all the finances to really fund a huge, like, you know, meal plan. So I had to work with what I had and make it work. And I did. So leading up to the show, like I said, I was eating tuna, rice cakes, and I was closer to stepping on stage at this point. I was starting to eat like candy and, you know, a few other things to help me really pop. So brought some resistance bands, and, you know, they had weights there, so I did my pump up and all that. And once we got into men's classic bodybuilding, after the masters and bodybuilders went out on stage, it got interesting. So this federation was a little different, simply because they ran a different kind of like call out, which I was fine with, I was cool with. I was just a little thrown off that it was like more so like a freestyle type of pose, and I didn't really prepare for that. So literally within the last hour of getting ready for the show and stepping on stage, I came up with my freestyle, and, you know, I thought it went really well. I don't really know. Apparently, from what I understand, the crowd loved what I had to present to them and showcase, and some of the judges, or a majority of the judges, said I did really good. So I was super, super happy about that, super excited, because, you know, that close to the show, you know, the littlest thing can stress you out or give you anxiety. So to say the least, I was kind of like a little nervous about how that was going to pan out. But for what it's worth, I did really good. Stepped on stage, had fun with it. All the work was done up to that point, so I really just wanted to, really soak up the atmosphere and connect with as many people as possible, and just go out there and kind of be myself. And I feel like I achieved that. And after hitting the mandatory poses and then the freestyles, we did a little break. And we got to connect with some of the people, some of the other athletes, and then we went back later in the evening for the private shows. Now, that being said, the private shows is where we went back in and we did our own personal routine in front of everybody. And there was like 2 other events going on, a total of 3. So you had bodybuilding, you had powerlifting, and then you had, I think, arm wrestling. So to say the least, you had a very big audience, a mixed crowd, a lot of people going in and out the doors. So there was a lot of people that were kind of like, watching the athletes as we stepped on stage. And, if you don't like crowds or you're not comfortable with competing in front of like large audience, you could potentially, that could throw you off. So with me, I think kind of like using that nervousness or kind of like that fear and retracting, I expand into it and I use it as a challenge to overcome that hurdle and obstacle. So with me, I was fine while going through that phase. And I feel like in the moments of chaos, by sitting into that fire and expanding into it, that's how you really go to the next level. That's how you really grow. So in those moments where it's not really like a lot of certainty or you're not really too sure about what's going to happen, or you have a game plan and your game plan falls through, which happened to me, it's like, do you keep moving forward or do you just kind of like, say, oh my God, I'm done, crucify me. So with me, with my personal routine, I was practicing for months, and I was doing I actually posed 3 times a day, first thing in the morning, before I worked out, and then immediately after my workout, and actually sometimes before I went to bed. So I was going hard with the posing because I feel like the success is in the details, and that's what separates the person that's always in the gym and they look great but they don't know how to pose, or they don't pose to where they need to pose to be seen, and it creates that champion, the person that's going to stay consistent and constantly work on those things. And posing is pretty hard, it's not easy. Being able to contract those muscles and hold those muscle bellies and make things pop and move the way they need to and transition and create a story with your physique, and it's an art. So I learned that going through the process. And long story short, when it was my turn to go up on stage, I had this whole routine put together and I choreographed the whole entire thing, and I thought personally that it was a pretty cool routine, until the DJ, I'm glad we can laugh about it now, the DJ didn't play it, and like a few other technical difficulties took place in the process of me going. So as I stepped on stage, I was waiting for him to hit the music, and I kept going, but there was no music playing. So it's like, okay, well, what do we do now? So I just kept rolling with the routine. And at some point halfway through my routine, I kind of looked over at the announcer like, hey, like, are we gonna do this? Or, are we gonna play it back? Like, what's going on? So he just encouraged me to keep going, and successfully I finished the routine. I pretty much exited off stage, and then they called me back out, and I was kind of confused. I wasn't sure what